The observation deck fell silent as Alpha Drex watched the impossible scene unfold through the reinforced viewport. His pack stood behind him, their bioluminescent markings pulsing with confusion and barely restrained alarm. Below them, in the quarantine bay, the human female sat cross-legged on the floor, and curled against her chest was something that made every instinct in Drex's body scream danger. A Corsavian cub, a juvenile apex predator from the death world of Korsov 7. Its silver-black fur gleaming under the bay's sterile lights. The creature's retractable claws were tucked against its body, its triple-jawed mouth relaxed in what could only be described as contentment. And the human, Arya, her identification file read, had one hand resting gently on its back, her fingers moving in slow, rhythmic strokes. Alpha, Second Thrain whispered, his voice trembling. She's touching it willingly. Drex said nothing. His species, the Velkrin, had evolved from pack hunters on a world where cooperation meant survival. They understood hierarchy, trust, and the bonds forged in the hunt. But even among his own kind, physical closeness during rest was reserved for mates or parents with newborns. The vulnerability was too great. To sleep, truly sleep, near another was to place absolute trust in their protection. And yet this human, this fragile creature from a world the Galactic Council had initially dismissed as moderately hostile at best, sat with a sleeping death machine pressed against her vital organs. Pull up her file again, Drex commanded. The holographic display flickered to life. Arya Chen, 28 standard years. Botanist assigned to the agricultural deck of the colony ship Perseverance. Nothing remarkable. No combat training. No enhanced genetics. Just another human among the 30,000 who had fled their dying homeworld seeking refuge in the stars. How did the cub even get aboard? Third Kessa asked, her tail lashing anxiously. Stowaway, Drex replied, his eyes never leaving the scene below. It must have hidden in one of the cargo containers during our resupply on Station Meridian. When it emerged in the lower decks, it was starving, frightened, and dangerous. It killed 2 maintenance drones before we could seal the sector. Then how? She walked in, Drex said flatly. Before we could stop her, Arya overrode the quarantine lock and entered the bay. The security footage had been reviewed a dozen times. The cub had been cornered, hissing and spitting, its body coiled to strike. Arya had approached slowly, making soft sounds in that strange, melodious way humans had of speaking. She'd had no weapons, no protective gear. She'd simply sat down 3 meters away and waited. For 6 hours she'd waited while the cub circled, snarled, and tested her resolve. And then, impossibly, it had approached. It had sniffed her outstretched hand. And finally, exhausted and desperate, it had collapsed against her. That had been 20 hours ago. Alpha, we need to extract her, Thrain urged. If the cub wakes aggressive, it won't, a voice interrupted. Drex turned to see Commander Okoye, the human military liaison, striding onto the observation deck. The woman's dark skin gleamed with that peculiar sheen humans developed under stress, and her expression was unreadable. Commander, Drex acknowledged. Can you explain what we're witnessing? Okoye stepped to the viewport, her gaze softening as she looked at Arya and the cub. Where I come from on Earth, we had a saying. Not all who wander are lost. But there's another truth humans learned long ago. Sometimes the most dangerous things just need someone to trust them first. That creature could disembowel her with a single swipe. Kessa protested. Could, Okoye agreed. But humans have lived alongside predators for millennia. We domesticated wolves into dogs, tamed great cats, kept snakes and spiders as companions. We learned to read their body language, to understand their needs. Arya isn't being foolish, Alpha Drex. She's being human. Drex's claws flexed involuntarily. Your species befriends predators? Our species is predators, Okoye corrected gently. Persistence hunters who chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We have forward-facing eyes, tearing teeth, and we can digest almost anything organic. But we're also social creatures who form bonds that defy logic. We adopt orphaned animals. We rescue injured wildlife. We see something vulnerable and something in our DNA says protect it. In the bay below, Arya shifted slightly, adjusting her position to support the cub's weight better. The creature's breathing remained deep and even, completely at peace. Even we don't rest against each other that much, Drex said quietly, almost to himself. His pack members murmured in agreement, their markings dimming with unease. Okoye smiled. That's because you're hunters who became people. Humans are people who never stopped being hunters. We carry our children on our backs into danger. We sleep in piles when we're cold or scared. Physical touch is how we communicate safety, love, trust. That cub down there? It's terrified, alone, and far from home. Arya is showing it that it's not alone anymore. And when it grows? Drex challenged. When it becomes a full adult Corsavian, capable of tearing through hull plating, then Arya will have a very loyal friend, Okoye said simply. Or perhaps she'll help us return it to its world. But right now, in this moment, she's doing what humans do best, proving that the universe doesn't have to be as cruel as it seems. Drex watched for another long moment as Arya hummed softly, the sound carrying through the audio feed. The cub's ear twitched and it burrowed closer against her chest. His pack remained silent, witnessing something that challenged everything they understood about survival and trust. Extraordinary, Drex finally whispered. Your species is absolutely extraordinary. Commander Okoye nodded, her eyes glistening. We're just human, Alpha. Sometimes that's enough.